Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party. Today is Wednesday, September 8th, 2020, and what is happening? What happened yesterday? What's going to happen today? What should you be concerned about or not concerned about, right? Stocks came under pressure yesterday after the long weekend as investors rethink the narrative, right? Rethink what they were told on Friday. Europeans remain on edge about tomorrow's ECB statement. What's going to happen and what will the ECB say, if anything? Treasuries fall, sending yields higher, the dollar strengthens, commodities fall, which makes sense because it's all interconnected. Bitcoin and Ethereum had a wild day, trading up above 52,000 on Bitcoin before ending the day at 46,000. Ethereum trading above 4,000 before ending the day at 3,300. And what are we having for dinner tonight? We're going to try the gemelli, but we'll get to that. Look, stocks fell yesterday. That's right. I said they fell. The Dow lost 268 points. The S&P gave back 15. The Russell gave back 13. The transports fell 102. All while the NASDAQ eked out a 10-point gain, which is not necessarily illogical at all. But what happened between Friday and Tuesday? What was it? Maybe it was just a long weekend, gave investors an opportunity to think about the weekend FP report and it finally hit home. Or maybe, and that maybe, just maybe, that the economy was beginning to falter. Or maybe it was the wages part of the report that suddenly is causing more angst. You see, average hourly earnings jumped by 0.6%, which was double the expectation. But if you peel back the onion, what you see is even more. Wages in the leisure and hospitality sectors saw increases of 1.3% month over month and 10.3% year over year. This is just as the Fed is caught between this rock and a hard place. Right? What to do? What to do about inflation? Is there inflation? Is it transitory? These are all the questions. And as expected, we're hearing more from some of the Fed heads, and I told you this. This morning, without fail, it was St. Louis's Jimmy Bullard, who's a non-voting member, who gave an interview to the Financial Times. And in it, he says that it is time to move on the plan. He dismissed concerns that there's any problem at all in the labor market. In fact, he's right, and he told the FT that that's how he feels about it, right? And he said, and I quote, "There is plenty of demand for workers, and there are more job openings than there are unemployed workers." And guess what? He's not incorrect. He is true. And today's JOLTS report, which is the job openings and labor turnover survey, will confirm that, right? It's expecting a little over 10 million job openings, right? So will the market listen to what Jimmy has to say, considering that he's a non-voting member? And I said last week, remember we heard from Atlanta's Rafi Bostic, who is a voting member. Now we got Jimmy Bullard, who's a non-voting member. But who's next? San Francisco's Mary Daly. And she is one to watch because she is a voting member. So like Rafi, she does have some sway in what goes on. So you should really listen to what she has to say because she does have some skin in the game in terms of having a vote. And in yesterday's note, I made mention also that the Europeans are beginning to wonder just about what the European Central Bank is going to say. Speculation is running rampant that they too are readying to take away the candy jar. And that's causing European markets and European investors to, it ended the day negative on Tuesday. European markets are weaker again this morning. Markets all down about 1% across the board, or they were at about 6 o'clock this morning. They were all down 1% across the board. Yesterday, the 10-year Treasury rose 5 basis points to end the day yielding 1.37%, helping to send the dollar higher. And if Treasury yields continue to rise, then you can expect the dollar is going to continue to move higher. And as the yield is a driver, one of the drivers for a stronger dollar. But if 10-year rates remain anchored right here, then the dollar is going to stall. If 10-year yields, though, continue to climb, then watch what happens to the dollar. And then by default, the commodity complex, right? Because, the commodities are priced and dollars have an inverse relationship. Now, look, the dollar rose 0.5% yesterday to 92.55, leaving it just a hair away from trendline resistance at 92.64. If it should pierce that level, then expect the dollar to rally back or attempt to rally back to the August highs of 93.70 as yields continue to climb, right? This morning, the dollar did, in fact, pierce that trend line. 10-year yields are holding steady, but the day is young. The commodity complex did come under pressure yesterday as the dollar strengthened. Think gold, silver, oil, blah, blah, blah. Gold lost 2% at $38. Silver lost 1.7%, and oil fell by 1.3% or 90 cents a barrel to end the day at 68.40. There was no real change in the demand story. It was really all about the dollar, right? The VIX rose 8.5% as stocks fell. And this should not be a surprise to anybody at all, because remember last week when the VIX rose, stocks rose, I pointed out that that was illogical, because as fear increases, stock prices should retreat, even if just a little bit. But as the VIX rose, so did stock prices. And I noted that maybe investor fear was building, but that no one was really ready to run for the door, that they were confused. So that they played on both sides of the fence, not really sure what to believe. But now that there's more analysis and there's more commentary about what happened on Friday, then there's a bit more concern, and that makes some sense. Fear rises and prices retreat. And again, the VIX is up this morning as stock futures are under pressure. Now look, there's no eco data to really speak of this week in terms of easing anyone's mind about what's coming. Third quarter earnings growth estimates are being revised lower, and that too is not a surprise. We've talked about how second quarter was the peak. That has been discussed ad nauseum, all while concerns that the Delta variant raises the temperature in the room one day and then cools it off the next. News out of China that both exports and imports grew faster than expected should help ease any concerns about the reopening and the supply chain issues. Or maybe not, right? We don't really know yet. You have to take everything that China says with a grain of salt. This morning we're seeing some follow through. U.S. futures are down, although not as much as they were overnight. We saw triple-digit losses of 200-plus points in the Dow during the night, but at 6 o'clock this morning, we're seeing an attempt at a rally, right? Dow futures are only now down 55 points. S&P's off 5, the Nasdaq's down 10, the Russell's off 4 points. But I'm not sure that we're going to really get a rally today at all. It just feels like it just wants to be weaker. It doesn't, it's going to crash, it's weaker. Expect to hear more about Jimmy Bull's commentary and analysis about what he said, which is all true, and I am on his side. It is time to move. In fact, if you ask me, we should have moved much earlier. But hey, I'm not the Fed chair. Talk of a push to move is clearly going to put pressure on the markets. Since all the talk on Friday suggested that the weak jobs report would give Jay Powell some cover to do nothing. So if that tone changes today, then expect the reaction to change. The only eco data out today besides the JOLT report that is of any importance at all might be mortgage apps, but not really. But it could be the Fed's Beige Book, which details the State of the Union broken down by the 12 Federal Reserve districts. It's published at 2 p.m. today, so watch to see what the Fed has to say about the State of the Union. I got this cough, it won't go away. About the State of the Union, and will this report really give Jay even more cover to do nothing? This morning we're seeing weakness across Europe, which makes some sense as they await the ECB results tomorrow morning. Recall that last week I told you that the recent spike in Eurozone inflation and an increase in economic activity is causing some of the hawkish members to make some noise. But remember what Christine Lagarde, ECB president, told us a couple of weeks ago, that the ECB will not move until the Fed moves. But do investors really believe her? I think they do, but they're just being cautious, right? Like I said, at about 6:30, those markets had rallied back just a little bit, but they're still down about 0.8% across the board. Bitcoin lost nearly 10% yesterday after trading as high as 52,000 in the morning, but ending the day at 47,000. I guess investors are not really sure what the El Salvador news really means, if anything. Remember I said yesterday morning that the pop was going to be short-lived, and in fact it was. Or maybe it was just that investors in the coin decided to just take some money off the table on the spike, right? Ahead of what might be a volatile time in the weeks ahead. Ethereum, which also pushed up through 4,000, is now trading at 3,300 on that same logic. Maybe it's just taking a little bit of money off the table because people are worried about what's potentially coming. So they saw the spike, they locked in some profits. Not a big deal. The S&P ended the day yesterday at 45.20. The weakness this morning is certainly going to give us reason to test the lows of yesterday, which was 45.13, to see if it holds. If it does not, then 44.70 would be the next target to see if the buyers are lurking. Even that would only be a 2% move off the high. Maybe enough for the buy the dipper crowd, but I'm still waiting for that bigger pullback. Morgan Stanley put a report out that says stocks are fully valued, and they're looking for a 10 to 15% pullback before the year end. But that story's not getting a lot of attention because it's kind of negative, right? Tommy Lee, though, of Fundstrap, is telling everyone that September's going to be a blowout month, that stocks are going to reach new highs, blah, blah, blah. So listen, all I can say is stick to the plan. Don't get sidelined by the noise, especially if you are a long-term investor. Remember, You can text the word invest to 21,000 to get my digital business card delivered right to your cell phone. You can feel free to download it, put it right in your contacts. It's got my email, my text message, my phone number on it. Feel free to reach out because I am always happy to engage and talk about the markets, planning, thoughts, concerns, ideas, whatever's on your mind. You know, you can also follow me on Twitter. My handle is just my name, at Kenny Polcari, or on Instagram at KennyP1961, which was my badge number when I was a member of the New York Stock Exchange, also the year I was born. And if you're watching this, you know you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is Kenny Polcari Media. So I thank you for that. In the meantime, what are we having for dinner tonight? So this is the spin. This dish comes from Liguria, Italy, right up in the northern part. It's really where pesto was born. But this is a gemelli pasta with basil pesto, potatoes, and green beans. If you've never had it, don't knock it yet. It is so good, right? It's simple to make, but it's actually really, really good. And so for this, you need a pound of gemelli pasta, pine nuts, 3 cloves of unpeeled garlic, 1 pound peeled red potatoes cut into bite-sized cubes, salt, pepper, green beans trimmed and cut into like 1-inch lengths, fresh basil, fresh grated Parmigiano cheese, olive oil, butter, and a teaspoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now you want to bring a salted water to a rolling boil. You want to add the potatoes and cook them for about 10 minutes until tender. Now it's going to depend on the size cubes that you make, but just don't let them get mushy. Once cooked, take them out with a slotted spoon. Do not throw the water away. Set the potatoes just on a baking dish. Let them cool, not a big deal. Keep the water because you're going to use the water now to boil the pasta when you're ready for that part of the dish. Now, in a small little frying pan, you want to toast the pine nuts and the garlic cloves. No oil, just put everything dry in the pan. Put the heat on medium-high, stir it around. The pine nuts will get browned up a little bit. And the garlic in their skin will brown up a little bit too, right? So you're going to keep it there, maybe 10 minutes, right? But you're going to sit there and stir it so it doesn't burn. Again, take those out, let them cool, and then you peel the garlic. Now, in that same pan that you just did the pine nuts, add some water, just enough so that when you put the green beans in, the green beans are covered. You want to put that on high, cook them maybe 6 to 8 minutes max. You just want to make them tender. Then you want to strain those, let them cool, put those on the baking dish with the potatoes, just to put them aside. Now, in the food process, you want to make the pesto. So you're going to add the basil, the olive oil, the cheese, the garlic, the pine nuts, a dash of salt, pulse until smooth, just for about a minute. Now you're going to put the gemelli pasta in the water that had the potatoes in it. Cook the pasta until al dente, maybe 8 minutes. You now go to strain it, right? So take a mug full of water out of before you strain it all. Strain the pasta, and then put it back, toss the pasta back into the pan. Add a little bit of the water back just to moisten it. You're going to add a half a stick of butter that you've sliced up into just into slices so that it melts faster. You want to toss the butter in the pasta so that it coats. Now you're going to put the potatoes and the green beans, the fresh lemon juice, and the pesto sauce right in the pot. You're going to stir it, right? Don't stir it so hard that you mash the potatoes, but you want to stir it to mix it, right? If it looks like it's a little bit too dry, that's okay. Add a little bit of the pasta water because you just want it to be creamy. You don't want it to be wet, but you want it to be moist and creamy, right? Once you stir it, you should serve it in warm bowls. You should always have extra cheese on the table for your guests because you know how I love cheese. And that's it. You can serve this with a glass of white wine. It's delicious, but this is a really great, you don't need anything else after you have this dish because it is filling, right? It's got potatoes, it's got green beans, it's got the pasta in it. So you don't have to serve yourself huge portions, but you can serve yourself a nice sized portion and it's really, really good. So I hope you enjoy it, right? This recipe, like I said, comes from Liguria, Italy, which is the northern part of Italy. You can do a little bit of research on it if you want, but in any event, the day has just begun. The sun is coming up. You can hear the lawnmowers outside cutting the lawn. And so let's get ready. Until tomorrow, take good care. Bye-bye.